Part 72. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 715. In this way, Fan Kunzen, under Chaoran's suggestion, agreed on the once and for all strategy. But the two of them couldn't do it alone. They needed more witnesses and helpers, so Muramasa went to arrange for manpower. The few people who came were not only tight-spoken and steady-tempered, but they were also young and strong and obeyed orders. Sit back and wait, although it is time-consuming, it is not laborious. Several people took turns staring at the Zheng family. So tonight when the Zheng family went out in full force to the grove, they were already followed. Seeing that they were about to set fire, Muramasa was already furious. Fortunately, they were afraid of trouble and burned only a small forest. Muramasa was reluctant to hold on and did not move. Then, they followed the Zheng family to the vicinity of Ji's house. On the other side, as soon as Chaoran left home with Chen Fang, he locked eyes with the boss of the Zheng family behind him. She did not take action, but after meeting with Muramasa and the others, she left Zhengde to them. After several one-on-one encounters, Zhengde was tied up and thrown aside before he could even groan. When Chaoran went out, she had already determined that the second son of the Zheng family was hiding at the intersection, so when she led people around, he was dragged away with his mouth covered before he could even react. In order not to alert others, Chaoran and Muramasa simply walked away from the hole dug by Zheng Xiaokai. Chaoran also entered the house through the window and quietly opened the door for the other three people. When the four people watched Zheng Xiaokai with their own eyes, it was the moment when he stuffed the ingot into his lapel. So this taking advantage of the situation drama can be regarded as being seen clearly. I thought that was it, but Zheng Xiaokai had other plans. Muramasa knew that the Ji family had recently made money by selling makeup boxes, so when they saw Zheng Xiaokai adding things to the makeup, everyone was stunned. At that time, Zheng Xiaokai was busy putting out medicinal powder. How could he have thought that there would be someone behind him? Afraid that this guy would cause great losses to the Ji family, Muramasa couldn't bear it anymore and shouted to stop Zheng Xiaokai. That's it, Zheng Xiaokai was caught red-handed. At this moment, when he heard that the other party wanted to report to the official, Zheng Xiaokai hurriedly argued, "I didn't set the fire, you misunderstood. I was putting out the fire. I passed by here and I saw someone crawling in through the hole in the wall. I was curious for a moment, wanted to help catch the thief, so he followed in." He rolled his eyes and pointed to the half-open window outside. "I almost caught the thief, but the thief was so agile that he was frightened by me and ran away from the window. So I didn't steal. I didn't do anything bad. On the contrary, I acted bravely." What a brave man! Muramasa was angered by his righteous words. He didn't bother to tell Zheng Cai that they were following him all the way and watching the whole process. Muramasa signaled, and the two big men who were holding Zheng Xiaokai found the ingots of gold ingots from his front. No theft? What is this? This is what my family Kinkin saved when she was at the Lin family. I buried it in the back mountain and just dug it out today. Bah, Muramasa didn't even bother to pay attention to him. You are so shameless. Wait until you get to the yamen to tell the county magistrate. Muramasa turned over the ingots, and sure enough, the bottoms were all stamped. Not to mention that they all watched Zheng Cai put the ingot in his clothes. Let's talk about the silver ingot. This was the 15-tael ingot issued by the imperial court last month. It was redeemed by Ji Wenqing when he went to the provincial capital a few days ago. It had been several months since Zheng Qingqin left the Lin family. At that time, there was no such ingot on the market. In the past few days, Wenqing knew that Zheng Xiaokai was coming to visit, so he deliberately placed the newly redeemed ingot on the table. The girl told him about this the day before yesterday. No, as expected, Zheng Xiaokai is nothing. It was a self-defeating lie anyway, and Muramasa didn't bother to expose him directly. "Hurry up and call me." "What's in your bottle?" "Nothing. I just saw a lot of makeup on the table and wanted to dress up a little for my wife to use." "Zheng Cai, tell the truth." "I'm telling the truth." "What, Muramasa, do you still want to force a confession?" "I am a scholar, Grandpa Fan, don't talk nonsense to him." When Tao Ran spoke, he had already walked around behind Zheng Xiaokai, pressed the back of his head violently, and then slapped his face directly on the long table. Zheng Xiaokai's hand was shaking just now, and the long table was covered with a thin layer of powder. "Ask him what it is. Will he say it? Why waste that time? Why not just give it a try?" Since he put the medicinal powder into the powder, it must have been designed to be applied on human skin. As a result, Zheng Xiaokai's face was not only pressed against the dusty part of the table, but was also pushed from one side to the other by Tao Ran, as if he were cleaning the table. However, Zheng Xiaokai was very calm and did not struggle too much. "Is the powder non-toxic?" "Impossible." Tao Ran guessed. What kind of effect does the medicinal powder need to have on harming people? For example, the oil in the powder? Or some kind of spice? With this thought, she picked up a box of powder. Sure enough, a flash of fear flashed across Zheng Xiaokai's eyes. Tao Ran gave a look and the two big men had already reacted. After tying him up, they threw him out of the window. "Who knows what's wrong with this powder? To be cautious, I'd better test it further away." Zheng Xiaokai was dragged to an open space outside Ji's house. This time, his struggle was several times stronger than before. He looked at the makeup box in Tao Ran's hand and shook his head, indicating that he had done all the tricks. How could Tao Ran let him have his way? He must suffer the consequences. He must avenge himself, so he deserves to be so conscientious in his work, right? Tao Ran motioned for the others to step back and threw the powder in his hand on Zheng Xiaokai's face. After a few people retreated far away, Zheng Xiaokai's various screams were left in the air. Although he kept shaking his head in an attempt to shake off the powder on his face, within less than 100 breaths, the half of his face that was pressed on the table still began to turn red and swollen. Another quarter of an hour passed, and his face there were dense blisters on my face, and they seemed to be showing signs of pus, which was extremely scary. Several people looked at him as if they were looking at a toad, so disgusting. Zheng Cai acted too frightened, so they guessed that his face could not be saved. The viciousness of this man's mind is clearly visible. This medicinal powder is obviously extremely poisonous. This is a lot, and he did it all at once. But if he had just poured a tiny amount into each large container, Tao Ran wouldn't be able to notice it at all. When she puts these drug-laced powders into makeup boxes and sells them, and it gets on the faces of ladies and young ladies, will she still be able to do well? She will offend all the dignitaries in the entire county. How precious are their faces? When the time comes, it will be inevitable. Even if he loses everything, his reputation will be ruined, he will definitely go to jail, his father will also be implicated, and it is absolutely impossible to take the exam again. By then, what the Ji family will face will be hundreds of times worse than what the Zheng family faces now. And Tao Ran and his family have been exposed to poisons for a long time, and they may themselves be seriously harmed. Therefore, this Zheng Cai is doing his own evil and will not survive. You deserve it. Thank you for the rewards of Reset Thunder Fire Weavue and Feng Zhounya Drop Bixen X in. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 716. Zheng Xiaokai, his wife, eldest son, and second son were just like when his three sons were escorted into the city a few months ago. At dawn, they were escorted to the county seat by a group of angry villagers. And Ji Xiaokai ended up as a victim again. This time, his momentum and aura were much stronger than last time, and he once again gained a lot of support. The charges were listed one after another: deliberate arson, burglary, house damage, and most importantly, deliberate poisoning and wounding. Since the evidence is conclusive and the witnesses and physical evidence are sufficient, Zheng Xiaokai has no possibility of escaping. Everyone is strongly demanding a harsh sentence. We want this whole family to go to jail and exile them thousands of miles away, never to come back. Don't you deserve it? When the situation was reversed, the one who had offended the female relatives of all the dignitaries in the entire county became Zheng Cai. These noble people are all potential victims. Everyone who had seen the half of Zheng Cai's face was terrified. Everyone wished that this guy would not only have a rotten face, but also have his intestines pierced. They are all Ji Wenking's patrons. If they hadn't caught such a scourge last night and hadn't discovered his methods, the consequences would have been disastrous. If they have bad faces, how can they get married if they are unmarried? How can married people maintain their status? How will they see each other in the future? Disfigurement would be a devastating revenge for women like them. I shudder just thinking about it. A group of female relatives jointly demanded that the Zheng family members must be severely punished. In the end, the case was defined as a poisoning case of egregious nature. After the verdict, Zheng Cai, the main culprit in the poisoning case, was sentenced to 50 days of cane punishment, and he and his wife, the main culprit in the arson case, were exiled for 3,000 miles. As for his two sons, each was sentenced to 5 years in prison and then sent to the army. They will never be able to return to their place of origin. The land and houses of the Zheng family and all the benefits enjoyed by the scholar were recovered together. All the properties of the Zheng family were sold and used as compensation for the Ji family. At this point, the hidden danger of the Ji family's biggest enemy has been completely eliminated, and the Zheng family has no chance of surviving. After the case was settled, Tao Ran also announced that she would no longer sell any makeup boxes for the time being. Actually, she originally planned to slowly withdraw from the business after the house in the county town was installed. She has already sold the third version of the makeup box. She doesn't actually do much research on spices and powders, and she doesn't have much other innovative abilities. And she has made enough money to allow Ji Wenking and even the entire Ji family to squander it for a lifetime. She knew she would be leaving soon, so she didn't intend to leave such a stall for Ji Wenking. In addition, something happened a few days ago. When she went to the temple, several ladies came to her specifically to drink tea. During the conversation, I learned that 2 of them were from the provincial capital. When I asked, it turned out to be from Ningxij, the largest powder shop in the provincial capital. Tao Ran has been to the provincial capital many times, so he naturally knows that store. He also knows that they have dozens of branches in various places. They took a fancy to her makeup box. Miss Ji, you are making makeup boxes by yourself. Although you have tried your best to ensure the quality of the makeup boxes, you still have insufficient resources. There is no guarantee that this incident will not happen in the future. We think you should expand the scale and use more professional products. Methods to operate. To put it bluntly, these people came to her to cooperate. Tao Ran thought they just wanted the formula, but they said they also wanted her name. She said that her name for makeup boxes has already spread in several surrounding counties, and no one else can get involved in this business. So they wanted to do it with her and still use her name. They sell them on a professional scale and promote them everywhere. And she gets a commission from each makeup box. Tao Ran thought about it for a day and then replied, "Your plan is too troublesome. I will simply sell all the recipes to you. You can use my name, but I am only the founder. I will not be responsible for your production, sales, and promotion, as well as the future. We do not take any responsibility for after sales and service. You cannot come to me for any subsequent questions or needs, nor can you use my name. Ningxij is the only person responsible for the product. And these must be put into words, Can you agree? In other words, it's a sellout. Ji Wenqing did not live a good life in the plot. Let her enjoy life in this life and not cause trouble for her, so Tao Ran chose to sell out. It's a win-win. Tao Ran was planning to give up, but now someone is willing to pay to take over the plate. This is pie in the sky. Not only did she get a lot of money for nothing, but she could also leave a name in this world and leave something to continue, which is very good. When the other party heard that there was such a good thing, he also wanted it and immediately agreed. After some negotiation, Tao Ran finally sold the business he created for 2,000 taels. Tao Ran was a cautious person and specifically requested that documents submitted to the county government office be witnessed by the county magistrate and his wife. The reason why those two people were willing to do this was because Tao Ran promised that after receiving the money, half of it would be used to build bridges and pave roads in the county. Although the county magistrate is not a good person, he admires her generosity very much. Tao Ran did this to let the county magistrate know that the Ji family would no longer have a way to make money, and if they ever needed money, they should not come to them. My family is no longer farming, and there will be no income in the future. I have to keep the remaining 1,000 taels for my family's future expenses. The furniture in the new house is not complete yet, and my father still has to study and take scientific examinations, and he may have to pay more in the future. I went to Beijing to take the exam, and my brother still wanted a wife. By the way, my sister-in-law is still pregnant. My brother has to take care of her. My sister-in-law is in poor health and needs to be taken care of, and the house at home can no longer be accommodated. The house next door happens to be vacant. I want to buy the second entry house so that I can accommodate my nieces and nephews in the future. Yes. Chen Fang went to check her pulse a few days ago and finally felt it. Chen Fang hugged Tao Ran and cried for a while, subconsciously giving the credit for this great joy to Tao Ran. As Tao Ran was talking, the county magistrate's wife over there covered her mouth and laughed at her. Okay, don't cry about poverty anymore. You said so much, why don't you mention saving some money for yourself to get married? Don't worry, I take your matter to heart. I promise not to allow my master to harvest your family's wool from now on. No matter what, Tao Ran felt more at ease with the words of the county magistrate's wife. She considers herself to have done her best. She worked hard to pave the way for Ji Wenqing and the Ji family. She earns her life by herself. Ji Wenqing is a smart girl and she will not let down her efforts. The Ji family had many happy events and finally moved into a new house. Previously, because I didn't want people to know that my family had become a nouveau riche, I only bought a second-class house. But after moving in, Tao Ran felt that it was indeed too small. Especially since she wanted to practice martial arts, there was not enough space, and it would easily affect the scholar's study, so she did what she said, and she quickly bought the one next door. She opened a long space for Ji Wenqing to be her private courtyard, decorated the front yard and backyard according to Ji Wenqing's preferences in her memory, and also raised 2 cats and 3 dogs. It can be regarded as a gift to Ji Wenqing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 717. Since he no longer had to spend time making money, Tao Ran, who had plenty of personal time, devoted himself to helping Ji Wenqing improve his physical fitness. After practicing martial arts for several months, her body became stronger and she was no longer the frail body she was. Although he is not a peerless master, he is more than enough to protect himself and his family. On the other side, the Feng family also came to propose marriage again. Just like last time, the Ji family pushed again. Ji Chun had a place in the provincial examination, but the Ji family had completely different confidence, so when he refused, he said bluntly that he would not consider it until the results of the provincial examination came out. And Tao Ran will naturally not forget to solve the hidden danger of the Feng family. Suddenly one day, a story about Feng Er and the 12 maids around him spread. The 12 maids are each named after December flowers, which sounds elegant, but in fact, these maids are all Feng Er's playthings. The story details how these maids were received into the Feng family's house, how they took turns serving Feng Er in a game, how they dealt with the situation when they became pregnant, and how the Feng family dealt with the aftermath. Although only 60% of the content in the story is true, the detailed details and inside stories, as well as the real people and events interspersed in it, still convinced most people to believe it. In just a few days, Feng Er, it became the biggest joke and topic of conversation in the entire county. Feng thought about it for a second time and realized that the only people around him could be so handy with his women. Apart from Zheng Qingqin, he really couldn't think of anyone else. After all, in Feng Er's mind, this was not the first time she had publicized this matter. While Feng Er was busy making trouble for Zheng Qingqin, the third master of the Lin family in the neighboring county received a paper package from a child when he went out for a drink. When he opened it, Mr. Lin's eyes suddenly lit up. A thick stack of papers, all exposing the Feng family and Feng Er. There are all kinds of romantic debts and messes that the Feng family had to clean up for Feng Er, and there were servants beaten to death in the inner courtyard of the Feng family, and the Feng family had squandered profits and occupied some land, and did they do anything to a certain official in the government? Bribery thing. These were naturally done by Tao Ran. In the plot, Ji Wenqing has been in the Feng family for so long and has spied on many secrets. However, Tao Ran was inconvenient and too lazy to check these things, so he just left them to the Lin family. The Lin family has long been working hard to get rid of the Feng family. Now that they have so many focus points, they naturally go all out to investigate. Let's talk about Zheng Qingqin. She was having a rough time. She tried to escape several times, but not only failed, but every time she was caught, she faced harsher punishments, including starvation, cold, and beatings. She didn't wait until Mr. Lin came back to find her. She originally thought of just surviving like this, but she found out about Guo Wu and Widow Zhang. She was extremely angry. But Guo Wu spit directly on her face. Look at your appearance. Kuiwa is prettier than you, gentler than you, and better at serving others than you. What about you? You don't have any self-knowledge. Do you still think you are a yellow-flowered girl from some scholarly family? I feel sick when I see you. How could Guo Wu like Zheng Qingqin? Every time he saw this woman, he would see the contempt in her eyes, and then think of Ji Wenqing, and how he got to his current miserable situation step by step. His pride would be hurt every time. Unlike Huang Kuiwa, she sees herself as a man. As habits become natural, Guo Wu becomes more and more dependent on Huang Kuiwa. Every time he went back to see the widow, as long as he brought some food and some coins, Huang Kuiwa would treat him tenderly and wholeheartedly. So after being discovered by Zheng Qingqin, Guo Wu simply stopped hiding her and often went directly to find Huang Kuiwa as soon as it got dark. I didn't sleep at home 6 days out of 10. But this time Guo's mother sided with Zheng Qingqin and blocked Guo Wu from the door several times. If you go to find that widow like this, when will my old Guo family be able to have a grandson? Guo's mother sat on the ground and cried. This was the only way for Guo Wu to fulfill his filial piety, so he could only stay with Zheng Qingqin. But after several months of hard work, Zheng Qingqin's stomach didn't move at all. After getting the doctor's pulse number 1, the Guo family was shocked. Only then did they realize that the daughter-in-law they had obtained was actually infertile. Everyone in the Guo family felt that they had been deceived by Zheng Qingqin, and they beat him up again. Guo's mother slapped the ground and howled, calling her a miserable life. She didn't know what evil she had done in her previous life, but she had brought home such a spoiled daughter-in-law. The old Guo family was in misfortune, and I felt sorry for my ancestors. Can she not feel wronged? She really wanted to divorce this wife, but she promised Feng that she would never divorce her. How can their family compete with the Feng family? From that day on, Zheng Qingqin once again became the Guo family's punching bag. But within a few days, someone came to help the Guo family solve their difficulties. It's Huang Kuiwa. She is pregnant. I want Guo Wu to take responsibility. Guo Wu was sure that the child was his. Although Guo's mother looks down on Huang Kuiwa, this is the first grandson of their old Guo family. Within a few days, Huang Kuiwa quietly moved into Guo's house. Guo's mother promised her that when she gave birth to her son, she would find a way to divorce Zheng Qingqin. Huang Kuiwa, relying on Guo Wu's love and the strength of her belly, also joined in the torture of Zheng Qingqin. She also stayed in Guo Wu's room, while Zheng Qingqin was locked in the woodshed every night. A few days later, the Zheng family was set on fire and poisoned again. At that time, everyone in the Zheng family was arrested, and Zheng Qingqin was extremely frightened. One day, she overheard the conversation between Guo's father and Guo's mother, saying that they were afraid of being implicated by the Zheng family and were discussing selling her. Mother Guo, that poisonous woman, also said that selling her to a dark kill would be the easiest and most convenient way. Naturally, Zheng Qingqin couldn't just sit back and wait for death. During the next day, while the men of the Guo family went to blacksmithing and delivery, and Guo's mother went to the market, and only the two women and Guo Wu were left at home, Zheng Qingqin took action. At noon, Guo Wu unlocked the woodshed and threw a steamed bun to Zheng Qingqin. Naturally, he didn't expect that this woman would suddenly hit his chest with a sickle. Guo Wu fell in a pool of blood. Huang Kuiwa heard the sound and rushed over. Zheng Qingqin suddenly rushed out from behind the door and pushed Huang Kuiwa onto the pile of firewood. When this was not enough, she kicked Huang Kuiwa several times in the stomach. She must take revenge on anyone who bullied her. The Guo family should just die off their descendants. Zheng Qingqin didn't stop until Huang Kuiwa saw blood. She locked the two people in the woodshed, then rushed into the room of Guo's father and Guo's mother as quickly as possible and began to rummage through the boxes and cabinets looking for gold and silver. When she left, she found a bag of rat poison and poured it all into the kettle in the old couple's room. She thought she could leave as long as she wore a hat, but she was in a hurry. She forgot to change clothes. Her sleeves were covered with Guo Wu's blood. She ran away in a panic, but the villagers saw the blood on her hands and sleeves that had not yet dried. She didn't run away. In the end, as one can imagine, she was arrested and sent to prison. Guo Wu died, and Guo's father drank half a pot of water, almost died, and fell ill. Huang Kuiwa's child was dead and her body was injured. She would not be able to give birth in the future. She pestered the Guo family to pay compensation. Guo's mother sent a white-haired person to a black-haired person. After her son died and her grandson was lost, she was so stimulated that she almost went crazy. As a result, Huang Kuiwa came to her door every day asking for money. In anger, she hurt someone again, but she was also arrested. After the verdict, Zheng Qingqin was found guilty of murder and poisoning, killing one, injuring another, and harming a fetus. She deserved to be killed and beheaded. In addition to compensating Huang Kuiwa a sum of money, Guo's mother was also sentenced to 1 month in prison for wounding. At that time, the Lin family's counterattack also began. They first started with Feng getting someone pregnant due to an affair and giving him medicine, which resulted in him bleeding heavily and dying. Then they went to the Feng family to lend money and break a person's leg, then to the Feng family to transfer a provincial house to an official. The Feng family he failed to avoid lawsuits time and time again. For 100 years, the Feng family was in a state of turmoil and was in danger. The Lin family used their connections in the capital to cause trouble, and the Feng family couldn't get around, and was eventually punished. Big trees were uprooted. Until Tao Ran left this world, Feng's family was still in jail waiting for the final verdict. She was pulled away before Ji Chun could take the provincial examination. It doesn't matter anymore. She believed that even if Ji Chun failed the exam, there would still be a next time. Even if you never pass the exam, it's worth it if you can focus on what you like for the rest of your life. Thank you Brother Long for the reward. Compare your feelings. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 718. Entering the void, Tao Ran, who was mentally strong, did not sense any signs of being spied on. Just like last time, the old witch was silent. And the golden light that Tao Ran gained this time was much stronger than expected. Come to think of it, most of it comes from being the founder of the makeup box. Ahem, since the old witch is not here, she will unceremoniously take away some of her faith power. She quickly sealed more than half of her faith power into her soul. In the soul, the leaves and vines became much stronger. If you look carefully, you will also find new sprouts sprouting from the vines. Although there was no spiritual energy in the world just now, Tao Ran quietly mobilized the power of faith in his soul for the use of the wood spirit every time he meditated. Facts have proved again that it is effective. The power of faith, like spiritual power, can nourish and strengthen the wood spirit. So instead of leaving these powers of faith to Elizabeth, she might as well use them herself. This time, she simply stole a little more. After waiting for a while, she was completely pulled away. After submitting the task, she failed to enter Elizabeth's fantasy world. She always felt that something had happened to Elizabeth. This witch was so powerful before, and she even said that she wanted to test the use of her skills, but 2 worlds later, she didn't even make an official appearance. She is not a calm person. Moreover, the world mission just now was a bit too easy and simple, and the benefits were not much. It was not the result of Elizabeth's choice at all. In addition, she had not come out to pry once after she had been in the world for so long. Something must be wrong. Faintly, Elizabeth fell into her dream. The background of this dream is very simple, that is, the image of Elizabeth emerges in a dark space. It is completely different from her past pursuit of the ultimate gorgeous ceremony, where Jing'e used useless scenery such as the Rose Castle. Tao Ran even felt that something was wrong with her. And even in the dream, her image is somewhat unstable. As if the signal is bad, Elizabeth looks a little weak. Why did you bring back so little faith this time? Elizabeth looked at Tao Ran up and down, obviously very angry. This time I am a village girl. How do you expect a village girl in a feudal society to rise? In a patriarchal society, if I were respected by all the people, I would have been killed long ago. Idiot. Didn't I give you the charm skill? If you just become a demon concubine and demon queen, wouldn't you be able to harvest the faith of the whole country? Tao Ran was speechless. However, she also knew immediately that Elizabeth was indeed not spying on her this time, otherwise she would never have said this. You haven't seen what my mission is, have you? The client's request is not to be a queen. If I do what you say, I will not be able to come back if the mission fails. Tao Ran was too lazy to talk nonsense with her and said directly. What's wrong with you? Why don't you take me to the fantasy world? This is what she wants to know. I'm hurt. Elizabeth was impatient and honest. I can't hold on to the illusion. Can't bear it? Tao Ran thought about it and realized that Elizabeth had received a lot of rewards after the survival game. After that, she had been facing herself in the illusion. So after this injury, she had consumed all the rewards she had earned in previous worlds. Her ability can't even sustain the illusion. Isn't she back to the first few missions? How much does it hurt? Tao Ran secretly laughed. How could that happen? However, does this matter have anything to do with Mr. Bai? Mr. Bai had sex with her? Because Mr. Bai was also injured, That's why he didn't show up. I said, my enemy came back, I had a fight with him, and we both lost. But I didn't come to you to explain the cause and effect to you. I need your help. Taoran hummed to himself. Need yourself? This is not a good attitude. Tell me. I urgently need energy recovery now. So I hope you can go on the next mission as soon as possible. Don't wait 3 months. 3 months of rest is what you promised me. Don't forget that you and I share the same destiny. If I are killed by my enemies, no one in this world can help you, and you will still die. Then give me a month's rest. 20 days at most. Elizabeth thought for a second and then returned. Taoran didn't expect that Elizabeth would be so talkative this time and didn't even show her teeth or claws. So she subconsciously felt that this old witch might still have demands. There is one more important thing. Really? I'm very weak now, and my enemy is nearby. I have to get stronger quickly, and I have to get ahead of him. So I can't wait for the pitiful rewards from one world after another. So I hope you can go there again. Survival game. I refuse. Taoran was determined not to do a bargain that could cost him his life. She has not forgotten that she narrowly escaped death last time and was robbed of everything. She might as well go to a normal world. Don't refuse in a hurry. I won't let you suffer. I promise you, each of us will get half of the rewards you get. I don't believe you. She was tricked last time. Don't worry, I don't have the energy to snatch your rewards now. So after the survival game is over, you can collect the rewards yourself. I can't interfere with you. When the time comes, you can take half of the rewards first and give me the rest. You can always rest assured. Again, you and I are destined to be together now. If it weren't for nothing, I wouldn't be willing to let you take the risk. That enemy is as powerful as me. Only by running ahead of him can I defeat him comprehensively. Do you understand? Hundreds of years ago, I let his evil plan succeed and escape. This time, I must make him lose his soul. The rewards from the advanced world are also very useful to you. If you use them to strengthen yourself, you can get twice the result with half the effort in breaking the curse in the future. Don't you want to be free sooner? I can give you another world of time to think about it. When you complete the New World mission, I hope to hear good news from you. When you finish the survival game again, I will give you a long vacation. Use the time you lack this time supply you. My dear, you have to believe in yourself. You are stronger than the average person. You can definitely do it. Okay. Taoran didn't want to express his position for the time being. It was the first time that Elizabeth had persuaded herself so earnestly. It seemed that her condition was really bad. If I agree, besides giving me half of the reward, what else can you give me? Taoran asked with a smile. Stop bargaining with me. My harvest is not as much as you think. To be honest, I don't even have enough energy to send you to the higher world. What you gain in the next world is barely a ticket. Is it easy for me? Elizabeth looked devastated. After grabbing several handfuls of her long curly hair, she changed her expression again. Okay, I promise you, as long as you complete the survival game, I will treat you better in the future, give you more skills, won't attack you again, and give you more autonomy. As if the battery was running low, Elizabeth's image began to intermittent, and finally went offline. Taoran opened his eyes. She thought carefully about her chances of surviving another survival game. Actually, judging from her current level and the difficulty of her first survival game, it doesn't seem that dangerous. It shouldn't be a big problem to at least survive. Say it again, think about it slowly. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 719. Taoran opened her mobile phone. She spent 7 days in this world. It's not long, it's not long, it's not short. The timing is quite coincidental, as her lawsuit will be pronounced the day after tomorrow. She was about to call Shan Shan to ask about the lawsuit and recent work, but a call came in. It was the property manager who said that she had not paid the property fee that she was supposed to pay last month. Not handed in? But Taoran remembered that she specifically told Shan Shan 7 days ago. Did she forget? I called Shan Shan, but no one answered the phone. Taoran knew that Shan Shan had a lot on her hands, so she didn't worry about it and went to pay the money herself. When she went to see Granny Hua in the afternoon, she was told that Shan Shan had not been there for a long time. She's probably busy, right? Shan Shan has her own work, and she's also busy with mine. Even though Taoran said this, he still found it strange. Taoran went to the foundation before going to the law firm the next day. She wanted to see Shan Shan. As a result, it was past working hours and Shan Shan hadn't clocked in yet. When I asked, I found out that Shan Shan had taken sick leave several times recently and was not in good shape at work. She seemed to be preoccupied. Taoran has something on his hands and has no time to continue looking for Shan Shan. She called, but still didn't get through. Another day has passed, and this day will be the sentencing day for Taoran's lawsuit. In view of Taoran's social influence, high public attention, and the fact that this case serves as a model for internet cleanup operations, the trial was broadcast live. Since all the evidence is sufficient, the outcome of this case is not in doubt. The Zijing News admitted their mistake in court and requested a lighter sentence, but Taoran directly refuted it. As a media, it has a role to play that cannot be shied away from. It has the social responsibility to guide public opinion and establish the basic requirements for correct values. Therefore, the more media it is, the more it cannot seek tolerance. On the contrary, it must be strict with itself. Only then will it be worthy of your role. The responsibility of media people is to be worthy of the trust of all people and platforms, and to be worthy of your tens of millions of fans. Yuyun Danfunking want to smooth everything over with just an apology, so who will be responsible for my reputation, who will be responsible for the reputation of the best drama university in our country, the social influence caused, and the doubts about social credibility, who should be responsible? Responsible. Now that the internet cleanup operation has begun, I believe that the court will implement it to the end, use this social incident to promote the further progress of the internet cleanup, and return a clean internet environment to our country's netizens. Therefore, we advocate that the sentence must be strict. Taoran said loudly, completely ignoring that it was her lawyer who should say these words. Probably because of her celebrity and the fact that she was broadcasting live, the judge didn't even interrupt her words and let her finish from beginning to end. In the final verdict, Zijing News and a group of internet keyboard warriors were all found guilty of spreading rumors and defamation. Zijing News is indeed a typical example of being caught. Not only were they required to apologize in writing and across the entire network, each platform was also ordered to shut down a number of their official media accounts for a month for rectification. In addition, Zijing News was ordered to pay Ms. Taoran a total of 1.2 million in economic compensation and mental damages. Other internet trolls were each awarded 10,000 yuan in compensation. The Beijing News also announced in court that all their editor-in-chief and reporters involved in the case would be dismissed. After leaving court, Taoran was blocked by the media. She bluntly emphasized that all compensation received this time will still be donated to the foundation named after her. She also reiterated that she was so tough this time because she wanted to establish a correct social value while creating a good online environment. God knows how heartbroken she felt when she donated the money again. It's just that her standards are too high, the money is hot, and only donating it will be more worthy of her image. Her image has indeed been established well, and because of this lawsuit, she has been the subject of several hotly searched articles. The whole internet praised her in various ways. And her character design was not in vain, because just as she was about to sit down to eat, she received a call again, saying that her superiors wanted her to be the spokesperson for network purification. The point is, it's paid. She will shoot a set of promotional videos, which will be played repeatedly on major websites, and will also be the main recommendation after opening many mainstream apps. In addition, there will be offline activities, and there will be a large amount of activity fees. But why did you find me directly without contacting my assistant? Your assistant can't be contacted, the other party informed. Now, Taoran was really worried. Although Shanshan is sometimes unreliable, she has never been so unreliable. Is she really seriously ill? Thinking that Shanshan had no relatives in the city, Taoran was worried and decided to go to her apartment to take a look. After dressing up in a low-key manner, wearing a hat, glasses, and a mask, she arrived at Shinshin's house smoothly. I rang the doorbell several times, but no one came to answer it. Taoran tried the combination lock. She opened the door quickly. She vaguely remembered that Shanshan had told her that the password at home was the sum of their birthdays. Sure enough, it opened after one try. As soon as he opened the door, Taoran felt something strange. In broad daylight, the whole house is brightly lit. The further you go, the weirder the smell becomes. Alcohol smell. There are several wine bottles in the living room. Pushing open the door, Shanshan was lying on the bed. Then Taoran saw the wine bottle on her bedside. Well, it's still a liquor bottle. Not sick? How could she remember that Shanshan was a bad drinker? This 52-proof liquor is basically poured by the glass. Taking a closer look, Taoran was startled. It's only been a few days since we last met, and this girl has already lost a lot of weight. With big blue-black eye circles and a pale complexion, he looked completely lifeless. After pushing her, Shanshan slowly opened her eyes. After almost 10 seconds, her eyes became clearer. Taoran touched her forehead. What's wrong? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Shall I take you to the hospital? Seeing Taoran, Shanshan shook her head, but her eyes turned red. She couldn't control her emotions. She shed tears and trembled all over. Taoran was in a state of confusion and could not help but make various speculations. Is it because of emotional problems that I drink to drown my sorrows? Taoran wanted to help Shanshan up and talk, but as soon as he grabbed her arm, he found large areas of bruises on her arm, and 2 cuts that were scabbed but still stained with blood. What's going on? Who hit you? Is it because of me? Taoran's face changed. Shanshan is hers, no matter who dares to attack, she will not let it go. But Shanshan shook her head again. You are so worried about me. Speak quickly. Who hurt you? Sister, don't worry. This injury was caused by a collision with someone when I went to work the day before yesterday and before I even got out of the garage. The injury was caused by me, not someone else. I am fully responsible for that collision. I have already been with you. Money. Real. Real. Why don't you go to the hospital? Why are you still drinking? Sister, please leave me alone. Let me fend for myself. Leave quickly. I just want to be left alone. Even though she said this, she still couldn't stop crying. How could Taoran not see the duplicity in her words? Taoran simply sat down, but Shanshan asked her to leave quickly again, seemingly in a hurry. Sister, I beg you, I don't want to hurt you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 720. Taoran felt very uncomfortable. It's not because of what Shanshan did, but because of her aura. Shinshin's aura and the aura of this room made her feel very dull and depressing. Logically speaking, It was a sunny day with no clouds in the sky and the sun was shining brightly, but Shinshin's house felt like it was covered by dark clouds. Tao Ran walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and opened the heavy curtains. Abundant sunlight poured into the house instantly, but the sunlight fell on my open hands, but there was no warmth at all, and there was no warmth at all in spring. The stuffiness in the room was only slightly relieved, but not completely improved. Has a problem? Is it a matter of feng shui? When Tao Ran looked at Shan Shan again, he felt that she was even more lackluster. Suddenly, she had the feeling of darkness in the hall that was often mentioned in TV dramas in the past. Walking over, Tao Ran held Shan Shan down. The internal force traveled through Shinshin's body, and sure enough, there was nothing wrong with her body. But she was still shivering. A trace of spiritual energy was forcibly introduced into Shinshin's body by Tao Ran. Then, the spiritual energy obviously encountered a blockage. And that trace of spiritual energy actually dispersed. What? Come again. Doubled spiritual energy was continuously introduced, powerfully traveling through Shinshin's limbs and bones, dispersing the waves of stagnant energy again and again. 10 minutes later, the spiritual energy finally spread throughout Shinshin's body. Tao Ran saw with his own eyes that the color on her face had returned to a little bit, and even the black and blue circles under her eyes had faded a lot. Tao Ran, who had spiritual energy running through her body, saw correctly that strands of black energy were dispersing from Shinshin's body. She was speechless. This was the first time she had seen the legendary dirty thing. However, after experiencing Elizabeth and walking through the world of immortality, the world is full of wonders. She can accept this situation, but she just doesn't like it happening around her. Shinshin's eyes gradually became clearer, and she repeated again, "Sister, please leave me alone. Please leave quickly." Tao Ran asked her to stop talking, found a bag of bread that was not expired, and brought some hot milk to her. But when he opened the door again, Tao Ran discovered that the black air began to cover Shinshin's head again. What the hell? So unforgiving? Tao Ran came closer and let out his spiritual energy, and the black energy dispersed again. She already had a basic idea of what could be dispelled by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. She took Shan Shan and sat in the sun. The window was opened, the sunlight was warm, and Shan Shan gradually calmed down. "Are you feeling better?" When Tao Ran asked, he remembered that he could draw talismans. Hey, she should have drawn some peace charms for the people around her to wear earlier. Although she had always had this intention, she never took action, and Tao Ran also felt a little guilty. Shan Shan nodded, "I'm much better." Tao Ran knew that she was insecure and said seriously, "I have done a lot of good deeds. An expert told me before that I have a golden body to protect me, and no evil or magic can get close to me. So don't worry, you won't hurt me. And as long as I'm here, I can't approach you no matter what. Shan Shan, I will help you. Tell me, what happened?" It's a ghost." Shinshin's hands started shaking again. "Ghost? Really? She pesters me every day. Sometimes when things are going well, she will suddenly appear in front of me. I had a car accident the day before yesterday because she suddenly lay on the glass of my car. I was frightened and couldn't hold the steering wheel firmly. Just hit it." Shan Shan started to cry. "I know that she wants me to die because she pesters me like this." Tao Ran took a deep breath. "So you just keep drinking?" "Yes. I can only make myself lose consciousness so that she won't appear." "Sister, I'm so scared." "No, that's not a ghost." Tao Ran stroked her hair. Although he has never seen a ghost, Tao Ran has some understanding of human souls in the world of immortality. The strong black aura doesn't look like an evil spirit, but more like a kind of resentment. In a sense, it's like a curse in Tao Ran himself. Her body was also blocked before, but it was actually caused by some kind of restriction. So Shan must be carrying some cause and effect? Tell me what happened to you recently? Who is the ghost you saw? How long has this been happening? Tell me the cause and effect, and we will face it together. At the end of the year before last, Taoran went abroad after winning the Golden Bull Award. After her assistant Shan helped deal with her assets, she returned to her hometown, which she had not returned to for many years. The family members were very excited to see her, especially her grandfather, who took her everywhere to visit relatives and friends. Since Shan was driving back to her hometown, one day, on a whim, the old man looked at his childhood photos and suddenly asked Shan to take him to his parents' home in the countryside of City A, 200 miles away. The old man was getting older, and Shan couldn't bear to refuse. Then she took her dad with her, and the three of them went together. The old man has not been back for decades, and things have changed in his hometown. After staying for a day, I found out that my childhood friend had moved to a nearby village. It's not that far, just a dozen miles of mountain road that goes around two mountains. The old man felt that it would be impossible to come back in the future, so he insisted on going to see it. After a short while, the car couldn't get in, so we had to walk. The three of them walked around with the gifts, and it took almost 3 hours to get to the place. This was all thanks to meeting a local kid who led the way. Since he had already made a call, the old man's son was already waiting at the entrance of the village. It was rare for outsiders to come to the small village as guests, and I heard that the guests were rich and brought many good things. In a short time, half of the village was here. Seeing that his friend was having a hard time, the old man took 8,000 yuan and gave it to his old friend. The old friend burst into tears of gratitude and greeted me warmly. The old man was so excited to meet his old friends again that he insisted on staying one night before leaving. Good wine and good food were served, and relatives and friends came to accompany them. The family simply set up 5 tables. That night, the whole village was full of joy and laughter, and there was a lot of fish and meat. The villagers were very enthusiastic, treating them as distinguished guests, and kept urging them to drink. Over the years, Shan had been socializing with Taoran, and she had already developed the habit of not drinking even when she was tipsy. So in the middle of the banquet, she felt a little dizzy and quickly got up, using the excuse of going to the toilet and taking a walk. It was not too late at that time, the sun had not set long ago, and the twilight was still there. Naturally, Shan was not too wary and just wanted to enjoy the peaceful nature. However, she was unlucky and met a very vicious dog. She has been afraid of dogs since she was a child, and would run subconsciously as soon as she was chased. As soon as she ran away, she was confused. She found that this area was different from the old man's small home. Almost every house looked similar, and they were all adobe houses. She couldn't find her way back. "Is anyone there?" she asked. But everyone in those houses seemed to have gone to the village to eat, and no one paid any attention to her. She asked a few more times, and finally got a vague response. She followed the sound and heard a series of metallic sounds. The courtyard door was open, but no one was there. When Shan walked into the courtyard and knocked on the door, she found the sound of metal behind her again. She glanced back and saw a well. She stepped forward and took a look down the well. Suddenly, a grinning, ghostly face appeared before her eyes, facing her. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 721. Or is it because he is drunk and is cowardly? If she hadn't been drinking, Shan would never have been so reckless. But at that time, she happened to meet Gu Jingli's gloomy eyes. "That's a woman." His pale face was bloodless, his dark eyes had no light, his hair was disheveled, and he looked completely unlike a human being. "Ghost!" Shan screamed and fell to the ground. The little wine she drank before made her wake up in an instant. But the man in the well made a hoarse sound. The voice was not loud, but seemed to be saying, "Help me. Please. I'm not a ghost. Please." One sound, and another sound. The voice was unclear, but Shan Shan heard it clearly. Shan Shan was about to get up and run, but something went wrong and she took a few more glances. This is a dry well. And the ragged woman inside, she was barefoot, and on her feet. A long chain was wrapped around her feet. The woman was locked at the bottom of the well by the chain. She recognized it again and found out that the woman's accent was clearly not local. And listening to this woman's hoarse voice, could it be that her throat was injured? How could this, a good person, be locked at the bottom of a well? An idea came to Shinshin's mind. Could this woman be detained? And was the metallic sound he heard before actually the cry for help from the iron chain? This woman heard her voice asking for directions and recognized that she was not from here, so she relied on the sound of the chain to finally lure her here? Were you caught here? As soon as Shan Shan asked, the woman nodded frantically and knelt down. She kowtowed to Shan Shan repeatedly emphasizing, "Save me and please." After just a few knocks, blood oozed from her forehead, showing her determination. Shan Shan quickly waved her hand to stop her. "I will find a way to save you. Don't worry yet." The woman thanked him repeatedly and kowtowed 3 more times. In this way, Shan Shan, who was so frightened at the time, did not dare to ask any more questions. However, after she remembered that the house number on the outer courtyard was number 2, group 2, she searched for a while and met a few children before returning to the village for the banquet. She couldn't help but ask herself, if she discovered the woman at the bottom of the well the first time she came here, could the villagers here not know? She shuddered a little when she saw that one family came to have relatives and the whole village came to eat. She just hoped that she had made a mistake. She held it in until the next day without saying anything or asking any more questions. When leaving, fearing that they would take the wrong path again, the village sent 2 children to guide them. On the way, Shan Shan took a box of chocolates and successfully asked a child to tell her everything. "Thank you, sister. Will you come again in the future?" "Not coming." "Why?" "Your village is haunted." "It's nothing." "Sister, you are so old, are you still afraid of ghosts?" "Really? I went for a walk last night and kept hearing the sound of chains. I walked over, but there was no one there. I saw a well. Do you think it was scary? I turned around and ran away." "Sister, is she going to the second group?" "Have no idea." "Sister, didn't you go over and take a look?" "I'm scared, where can I go?" "That's the old Zhang family's wife, not a ghost." "Nonsense, how could my wife be in the well?" "That's the old Zhang family." The 2 children didn't think there was anything wrong, but Shinshin's father and grandfather looked at each other with wide eyes. As for Shan Shan, she would rather hear that the woman was a ghost and that the village was haunted than that she was a human being. He is a human being, how can he be worse than a ghost? She is a daughter-in-law, how could she be chained up with such a thick chain? It was such a cold day, her clothes were still torn, and she was even barefoot. "You are so bad, you even lied to my sister." "I don't believe it." Shan Shan gasped for air while finding a box of chewing gum and a few small bags of biscuits from her bag for the 2 children. "Really, we didn't lie to my sister." When they got the food, the 2 children knew everything. The wife of the old Zhang family was picked up. She was disobedient and had a bad brain. She was always biting people and yelling randomly. Later, she took the wrong medicine and her voice was broken. She always wanted to run away with her children. Old Zhang just wanted to we can lock her up. Every time she goes crazy, she will be locked up in the well. Sure enough, everyone in the village knew. "Picked it up? You have to return everything you pick up, let alone people. Is it a woman? If you find someone, You will become your wife? Get married? Registered? Since she is the mother of a child, how can she bear to lock it? Bad brain? Bite? Taking the wrong medicine? Lost your voice? Escape? Lock up if you're crazy? Everything confirms her previous suspicions. The more Shan Shan thought about it, the more scared she became. After getting in the car, she said she was going to call the police. But she was stopped. Her grandfather said that as soon as they walked away, the police would be called on the back, and everyone would know it was them. Even if they are not afraid of getting into trouble, calling the police will make it difficult for them to deal with it. People are welcoming them warmly, but if they do this, how will they live there in the future? Her father felt that since the old Zhang family could marry that woman, it meant that the formalities had been completed. Women may be really mentally ill, but that means they are troublesome. Shan Shan, but I promised that woman. And even if she is mentally ill, it is not the reason for her being abused. Besides, we all know that she may not have been picked up. Child, forget it, Father Shan said. In this remote mountainous area, even if you call the police, it may be difficult to obtain evidence. And you have also seen that the villagers here are united. If you want to rescue the woman, you may not be able to do it. Then women have children, so it's not a matter of simply calling the police. Then I don't care at all. It's best to forget. Don't worry your grandpa. However, Shan Shan couldn't forget this. She always thought of the begging look in the woman's eyes in the well and the scene of her kowtow to beg her. More than 10 days later, after leaving her hometown, she asked a colleague to call the police. In another city, a public phone is used. In this way, at least no one will suspect that calling the police is related to her grandfather, and will not implicate her grandfather. For a period of time after that, Shan Shan paid attention to the news about the woman's location. But there was still no news. I asked my colleagues to call the local police station, but they were told that no woman was found at that house. More than 2 months ago, Shan Shan returned to her hometown to celebrate the new year. Remembering that woman, she begged her cousin to go to the small mountain village with her again. They brought big and small bags, pretending that they were visiting Grandpa Fa's home, and also packed another 5,000 yuan. They deliberately went in the afternoon because they couldn't make it back in time, so they could stay one night as a matter of course. Given the opportunity, this time it was my cousin who went to that house. But not only could the woman not be found, the well at home was also locked by a manhole cover. Shan Shan also found the child who had confessed to her before. After a few inducements and a lot of talking, the child told him that the woman in the well had died last year and had fallen to death in the back mountain. Isn't he locked up? Why did he go to the back mountain? The village was in chaos that day, and police cars seemed to have arrived. 2 days later, someone saw her hanging on the cliff at the back. She must have slipped and fell. I wrote something I wanted to write, but it's not easy to write. If you have something to say, please be more subtle. I'm timid and weak. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 722. At that time, Shan Shan collapsed a little when she heard that the woman had died in a pitiful state. That woman had a strong desire to live. If she still wanted to leave, she would definitely not commit suicide. Those people were controlling her. How could they give her the chance to escape to the back mountain? So there is a high probability that there is only one possibility. Is it because you called the police? The police are here, and some people are afraid of trouble, and are afraid of something happening, so they don't stop doing anything. At that moment, Shan Shan began to doubt herself. Calling the police was the most direct solution she could think of. But he indirectly harmed that woman? Was she wrong? Maybe she should just forget about it like her father said. As for people, once they start to doubt themselves, they will easily deny themselves and then shake their beliefs. Shanshan was very confused and walked to the back mountain without knowing it. She looked at the cliff and couldn't help crying, and said I'm sorry several times. Not long after returning from her hometown, the woman began to appear in her dreams. Sometimes she dreamed that she was dragged into an ancient well, and a woman pulled her, speaking with an accent of pay, wondering if she should accompany her or pay for her life. Sometimes, in the dream, the woman was beaten and dragged to the edge of the cliff by a group of people. The woman knelt down and begged, but the people scolded her in all kinds of ways, and finally pushed her off the cliff without mercy. Several times, Shanshan in the dream was dragged down the cliff by the woman. After a long feeling of weightlessness and oppression, she was awakened by the shattering of her body. What's even more frightening is that every time the woman appears, she has an obvious pregnancy belly. It's about 4 or 5 months old. Shanshan recalled that when she first met her, she was not sure whether the woman was pregnant because she was condescending to her, 2 lives in one body. Shanshan was even more frightened. At first, Shanshan thought these dreams were caused by her own guilt and didn't take them to heart. But later on, the situation became more and more serious. She felt that the woman was beside her and would pop out from time to time. The woman was very resentful towards me. She couldn't speak clearly, and I couldn't hear most of what she said. I could only hear 2 sentences clearly that she repeated over and over again, which were asking why and why has the whole world abandoned me. I had nowhere to hide but alcohol to numb myself. After the car accident, I was even more afraid to go out. There was a mother and 2 children sitting in the car I was hit by in a car accident that day. If it hadn't been for a pillar, they might have all been killed by me. I'm too scared. Not only was I afraid of her, I was even more afraid of hurting others. I decided at that time that I would stay alone in this room with that woman. No matter if she wanted me to accompany her or if she wanted me to pay for her life, that would be it. I admit it. At least I won't hurt others anymore. On Chinchin's dressing table, there are 2 suicide notes. One for Tao Ran, and one for his parents. Tao Ran held Chinchin's ice-like hand and directed a steady stream of spiritual energy to her. Although the temperature of the room increased significantly under the sunlight, Tao Ran could see that the black air had only dispersed but not disappeared. Idiot. After following me for so long, why haven't you made any progress? Tao Ran wiped her tears. When I was sentenced to only 3 months to live, I didn't accept my fate. Look at me, didn't I survive? Why can't you? Your life was given by your parents, why should you leave it to others? You earn your own destiny, as long as you think about it there is always a way out. The only one who can determine our destiny is ourselves. No one else, no matter whether they are humans or ghosts, can stop us. When he said this, Tao Ran thought of Elizabeth. She wants to live freely. Even if she may have to deal with the powerful Elizabeth in the future, she will not give up. She has been working hard for it too. One day, she can earn a future. So don't be afraid. Think about your parents. Even for them, you can't accept your fate. And I will be with you. Shanshan nodded and finally choked with sobs as she ate the bread in her hand. But sister, tell me, it was those people who harmed her. Why didn't she go to them instead of me? Tao Ran thought for a while. Every wrongdoer has his own debtor, and so it stands to reason. What is she doing with Shanshan? Shanshan is not the culprit. At best, the rescue failed and she cannot bear such a big responsibility. Tao Ran didn't know how to summon spirits, so he couldn't summon the thing to ask questions, so he could only help analyze it. How far is the back mountain from the village? 2 miles away. 2 miles is not too close. Perhaps, is this the case? You said that the people in that village have always been united, and the police cars can't drive in there. So even the police can only enter on foot, and it is impossible for the police cars to clear the way. There is no siren, so the poor woman didn't even know that the police came to rescue her. It is possible that the Zhang family had already received the news when the police arrived at the village. The second group was far away from the village. By the time the police arrived at Zhang's house, they would have had enough time to deal with the woman. When she was killed, she would only follow her own thoughts, thinking that it was you who leaked the news about her seeking help to the Zhang family, which led to the Zhang family's persecution of her. Did she think you were the culprit? You were her hope, so she regarded you as a life-saving straw, but you not only refused to save her, but also pushed her. She hated you and even resented you. That's why she said she was abandoned by the whole world. She died unjustly, and as time passed, her resentment condensed there. In addition, she is still pregnant, so the resentment may be doubled. Later, when you went back and apologized to her, the resentment locked onto you as the culprit. From then on, you were entangled. This is Chaoran's guess. Even if it's not accurate, it should be about the same. You don't have to blame yourself for this, not everyone has the courage to help when something like this happens. A normal person's first reaction would be to call the police. You didn't do anything wrong. On the contrary, you did a good job. It's just that some people are too bad, human nature is too complex, and you just happen to be entangled in resentment. You can have a clear conscience. As long as we are open-minded in our hearts, evil spirits will not be able to get close to us. These words are not comfort. This is the reason why people with strong yang energy and high righteousness are not easy to be touched by dirty things. The lower their arrogance, guilt, panic, and timid people, the easier it is for all kinds of strange things to happen to them. It seems that Shan was filled with resentment because she felt guilty that day. Otherwise, accuse her of working at a charity foundation and having merit and body protection. That thing can't be so rampant. Chaoran has also discovered that the black energy is very stubborn. Even if it disperses, it is still focused on Shan, and it seems that it will wrap around her whenever there is a chance. To untie the bell, you must tie the bell. If you want the resentment to dissipate on its own, I'm afraid you have to resolve this matter, Chaoran sighed. I only have 17 days of vacation left. It seems that we have to resolve this matter within these 17 days. Don't be afraid. Starting today, you come home with me. Stay at my house. Chaoran had already discovered that all the mirrors in Qinshan's house were sealed with tape. She couldn't imagine how frightened this girl had been and how painful her life was these days. But even so, she never asked him for help or mentioned any difficulties. Instead, she was still helping him handle emails and work until 5 days ago. They are partners and naturally have to help each other. Sister, are you sure? I'm sure. I have learned a lot of skills, and I will try my best to help you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 723. Just like that, Chaoran helped Shan pack some things and took her away directly. Chaoran held Qinshan's hand the whole time. Shan gradually felt a sense of security. When she walked downstairs, the sun shone on her body, and she couldn't help crying loudly. She has been surrounded by coldness for a long time. After Chaoran thought about it, the first stop he went to was the several convenience stores and small supermarkets nearby. She bought all the national flags from several stores, including commemorative medals with the national emblem, albums of portraits of the old chairman, head stamps, etc. She wanted as much as she wanted, and she bought several boxes directly. Shan doesn't know. But when these things were put in the car, she understood instantly. She felt a lightness on her body, and the whole car became brighter. Even though she was no longer holding Chaoran's hand, she was no longer cold. Is there anything more masculine and strong than the national flag and national emblem, and can better dispel evil spirits? With the pressure of heroine's righteousness, isn't it better than any amulet? Originally, Chaoran saw that Shan Shan was not in good condition and was afraid that her resentment would increase if she returned to her old place, so she planned to keep Shan Shan in the city. She thought about it and decided that she could put Shan Shan in a hotel under the police system. The police were under pressure, so in theory it should be safe. But she was really worried and couldn't bear it, so she decided to take Shan Shan with her. After putting up a few national flags in the car, Shan Shan felt much calmer. When Chaoran drove the car to Gyewenhua Street, he found that she had fallen asleep. It's pitiful. After losing so much weight, I haven't had a solid night's sleep in an unknown amount of time. Chaoran hung some more patriotic souvenirs in the car, covered Shan Shan with a national flag, and got out of the car after she disguised herself. She first went to a time-honored restaurant at the intersection, made the stewed Buddha jump over the wall, and ordered a few nutritious dishes to take away, and then walked into the cultural street. She wandered along and soon harvested several more peachwood chains. She actually came here to buy talismans. She couldn't follow Shan Shan all the time, and Shan Shan couldn't hold the national flag all the time. What should she do when she went to the toilet? What about taking a bath? So Chaoran thought it would be more reassuring to get her some serious amulets. After searching several stores, she finally found one that sold paper that was a bit interesting. The boss calls him an expert. But when I asked about the price, it was extremely expensive. After buying 100 pieces of paper, the boss asked Chaoran 3,000 yuan. I can't keep the price down, so I can only lament the huge profits. At this moment, a thought flashed through Chaoran's mind: how about changing his career? At that time, she had not thought that this idea would continue. Boss, is there any black dog blood? The boss held up his reading glasses and looked at her carefully. Girl, you're so ugly. You can't just buy something like black dog blood. And girl. He glanced at the two shabby cars parked at the door. That stuff is expensive. How expensive? Sold by the gram. Tens of thousands per gram. Excuse me. Chaoran turned around and left. The boss was right. Who called her poor? She just drives a shabby car, so she really can't bear to spend tens of thousands of dollars to draw charms. Why? The troubles of the poor. At that time, she thought, a gram of blood costs tens of thousands, and a piece of paper costs hundreds. So if she draws a talisman, can it be sold for hundreds of thousands or millions? Isn't this money very profitable? I wonder if anyone has collected the talisman? In other words, black dog blood is the best natural evil repellent. It is perfect for drawing amulets. But the asking price of tens of thousands per gram is really too much, so why not grab it? Rob. Chaoran accidentally caught a glimpse of a stray dog running past on the road. Wasn't the one running at the front the big black dog? She had many evil thoughts in an instant, but a popular actress sneaking around in the street, this. Who cares? She has withdrawn from the circle, hasn't she? She will be recognized easily, so she can't go to the pet store to buy a dog. What can I do? With his mind set, Chaoran went to the pharmacy first and bought gloves, disposable syringes, sterile cotton balls and other items. She went to a roadside roast duck restaurant and picked out a large duck leg, which cost 8 yuan. Probably because of the price of 10,000 yuan per gram of blood in that antique store, she always felt bad. She ended up buying 10 duck legs. If you draw someone's blood, you have to replenish it, right? When he returned to the car and saw that Shan Shan was still asleep, Chaoran decided to show off his talents. After all, it was broad daylight, so she restrained herself. Her mental power spread out, and soon she located the location of several dogs in a nearby alley. When she arrived at the entrance of the alley, she blocked the way and took out the duck legs, directly shutting up the dogs that were barking at her. Taoran glanced at the entrance of the alley and rolled up his sleeves after confirming that there was no surveillance. When the duck legs were thrown out and the dogs were feasting, she went around to the back and showed the needle. 3 minutes later, she finally got half a tube of black dog blood. But not only did the lenses of her sunglasses shatter into pieces, but even her high heels ran away. She ran back to the car barefoot. She had never been so embarrassed in her life. In order to save her face, she had to cover her face all the way. Why? She thought it wasn't difficult. But she underestimated these stray dogs. Not only are they flexible and fierce, they are also very united. When she poked the black dog with her needle, the other dogs put down their duck legs and pounced on her. At that moment, she thought of the people in that village. They are a group that advances and retreats together, eating meat and suffering poverty together. When the interests of one of them are damaged, the first reaction of others is to help safeguard it, without considering anything else at all. It's scary. Taoran was even more certain that even if she wanted to help Shan Shan, she could no longer alert others easily. In other words, her target can't just be the Zhang family, but also the entire village. Taoran first wanted to get blood smoothly, secondly she didn't want to hurt the dogs, and thirdly she was afraid of being seen by others, so it was inconvenient for her to show off her skills. She could only drag the black dog back strategically, escape. God knows how embarrassed she was at that time. She held the black dog with her left hand to prevent it from moving, and was still holding the needle with her right hand. While running as fast as she could, she had to prevent the black dog from biting, catching, or jumping. She didn't want to fight rabies at all. Vaccine. If it weren't for her agility and strength, her face might have been scratched by the black dog. But even so, her sunglasses were knocked off by the black dog. Thanks to her quick hands, she pulled out the needle as soon as she got half the blood in the tube. She didn't have time to wipe the dog, so she could only use her spiritual energy to treat the dog's wound, and quickly threw the dog out. Her high heels also ran away. The court session was in the morning, so she dressed formally for the sake of appearance. So, can you imagine the misery of a senior white-collar worker being chased by 5 vicious dogs? She is. If there is a camera here, it will be discovered that her speed at this moment is comparable to that of a flying man, and even a dog cannot catch up. If she hadn't thought that the glasses were a limited edition of a certain brand and were worth tens of thousands, she would never have wanted to go back and pick them up. But even if she recovered it, the lens was still broken. Back in the car, Taoran didn't know whether to cry or laugh. A pair of shoes costs more than 3,000. Glasses, more than 10,000. I originally thought of saving money, but obviously, I didn't. I originally thought about using duck legs to lure the black dog. Maybe we can have a sustainable development when we meet again in the future, but obviously, that didn't work either. If she had known earlier, she might as well have just bought it. Thank you Ziu and Reset Lai Huo Weeva Baby for the reward, and thank you all for your monthly votes. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 724. Taoran's villa only has rooms. She arranged a room for Shan Shan that faced south and had the most sunlight. The walls were covered with reassuring flags, and after sealing the mirror, she began to show off her skills. She brought over a dozen potted plants and set up a spiritual energy formation. Then she released and mobilized the spiritual energy, using the pulling effect of the plants to enrich the spiritual energy in the entire room. Shan Shan felt very comfortable, so Taoran asked her to take a hot bath in peace. Next, is the drawing of symbols. I haven't used this skill for too long. The peace talisman is the best to draw. She bought 100 pieces of talisman paper. She only dipped it in a little bit of black dog blood. The first 10 she drew were either useless or had flaws. It was almost on the 20th piece that she finished it in one go, allowing the spiritual power of the whole talisman to flow evenly and smoothly. I drew a peace charm the size of the word Fu and posted it in Qinshan's room. A big talisman was drawn on the door of the villa, and another talisman was given to the car. Looking down, Black Dog only had a small amount of blood left. Let's get a big black dog, this was Chaoran's first thought. With this little black dog blood left, she scrapped several more drawings, and finally only drew 4 satisfactory peace symbols. After hanging one on Shan Shan, she sent another one to Granny Hua and told Granny Hua that Shan Shan was ill, so for the next period of time, she had to take care of Shan Shan and could only call her every day. Granny Hua was very understanding and let her just do her own thing. The nursing home was full of elderly people. Chaoran didn't feel that before, but now she felt that her yang energy was too weak, so she pinched another peace charm and stuffed it into the chandelier of the dormitory where the elderly lived. There was only one peace charm left. Chaoran went to the ancient culture street again. As sunset approached, the previously deserted street suddenly became cleaner. Many shops have closed, but the shop where I bought talisman paper is still open, which is lucky. She went inside. Even though she changed her clothes, sunglasses, and shoes, the boss still recognized her immediately. "Hey, the little girl is here again? What do you want this time? Do you sell peace charms at home?" Chaoran asked. "Yes, this way." The boss motioned Chaoran to the side to display the cabinet. There are everything from 5 yuan to 500 yuan. Chaoran took a look and saw that it was all printed. In short, it was a pile of rubbish. "I want something good. Handwritten and valid. There are tens of thousands of good talismans, are you sure you want to see them? Who are you looking down on?" Chaoran couldn't bear it anymore. "It's only tens of thousands. This limited edition bag of mine costs 150,000, it was a gift from the brand." The boss hee, I know, driving a small broken car worth tens of thousands of yuan and getting a package worth hundreds of thousands. Do you think he is stupid?" He muttered in a low voice, "Who doesn't know about the high-quality domestic products?" The boss took out a box directly. After opening it, he looked at Chaoran and said, "This is a masterpiece's handiwork and is of extraordinary value." As he spoke, he covered his face, fearing that Chaoran would take it. "How much?" Chaoran raised an eyebrow. 200,000. "Thanks for exploring it first." Later, Chaoran did something that stunned his boss. She opened her bag and poured it down, and dozens of talismans floated out of the bag. "I have some here too. It doesn't cost 200,000 yuan. I'll give them all to you. Do you think how much I can get for one piece?" What Chaoran poured out of his bag was the pile of talismans she had scrapped. They were all painted with her spiritual power. Although the quality is not as good as the 4 paintings she painted later, even if they are defective, they are still 30 to 50% effective. It would be a pity to throw it away, so she brought it. At first glance, the boss's high-quality products are not as good as her waste products. It seems that besides selling itineraries and suing trolls, she has found a third way to make money easily. The boss sneered, thinking he was here to cause trouble. He was about to throw her talisman out, but when he got it, his eyes lit up. Chaoran nodded secretly. Sure enough, there are still people who know what they are doing. Why are there so many girls? He picked up one, put another down, and then another, with a look of disbelief on his face. "Given by my ancestor. 20,000 pieces, I took them all. Take 20,000 yuan and sell it for 200,000 yuan. The boss is not kind. These are all painted with blood by black dogs, and the cost is high." Chaoran pretended to take it away, but the boss stopped her. "In this way, 30,000 pieces, no more." Chaoran shook his head. "The girl looks so familiar, she looks like that movie star. Her name is Tao. Don't be so close, Tao Ran quickly interrupted. Don't think that praising me will give you an advantage. Don't forget that just now you disliked the poor and preferred the rich. Then, the fixed price is 40,000. Tao Ran continued to shake his head. Boss, let me tell you the truth, I paid 50,000 yuan for this one. With your appearance, I can only give you 50,000 yuan at most. If you are willing, you can keep these, what do you think? Tao Ran has a total of 12 such talismans, and one for 50,000 is equivalent to 600,000. As long as the boss is sincere, that's fine. What about this one? Tao Ran took out her last one, a perfectly drawn peace charm. What she's going to do next will probably cost a lot of money, so if you can make some money, it's worth it. After the boss took the talisman and looked at it for a few seconds, he suddenly turned his head, raised his neck, and shouted toward the back room, "Grandpa, come on." "Grandfather." The shop owner, who is about 50 years old, is calling Grandpa. So weird. Tao Ran couldn't help but take 2 steps back. 10 seconds later, Grandpa arrived at the scene. An old man in his 80s or 90s with a long beard appeared, holding the talisman and saying good things. "Little girl, where did you get the talisman?" "My ancestor gave it to me." "May I ask what your ancestor's name is?" "How do you call him?" "Where does he live?" The surname is Bao. "He is wandering in the clouds." "Master Bao." The old man scratched his head seriously. "I didn't know there was such a person. My ancestor's sect is mysterious. He comes from the Qingyuan section. It's normal that you haven't heard of it." "Qingyuan sect," the old man yelled, "I heard it was a high-level secret sect." "Yes. Let's see what this talisman says. Should I sell it to you? Or leave it here for consignment? How much can I pay for it?" Tao Ran only cares about this. But the old man was just the opposite. "Nothing for money. How you want to sell it, just say it." "Girl, when will your ancestor come back? Does your ancestor have a phone number? Can I pay him a visit?" "Girl, this is my business card, please accept it. Above, do you have my and our association's phone number, WeChat ID, and Penguin account? If it's convenient, can we leave each other's contact information?" "It's not, this talisman." Tao Ran was speechless. She just wanted to sell the talisman. "Arrange this talisman first before talking about anything else. Then let's sell it on consignment. I'll give you a guaranteed sale price of 500,000 yuan. Do you think it's okay?" the old man said simply. Tao Ran couldn't help but swallow. "These inferior peace charms are yours, too, right? I'll take them too. Can you get 80,000 yuan apiece?" the old man smiled kindly. "Grandpa." The boss quickly pulled the old man away. 50,000 yuan per ticket, we've already agreed." But the boss was slapped on the head by the old man. "You are blind to sight? Can't you see that this girl is blessed with profound blessings and protected by golden light? Someone is going to draw a bad luck charm for you, which is enough to ruin you for 3 to 5 years. Thank you to Brother Long and Xiao Ao for the reward. Thank you."